The present central government of India is close to the halfway mark of its second term. The BJP had formed the government in the centre with a landslide victory in the General Assembly election which were held in the year 2019. In these elections, the BJP won 303 Lok Sabha seats on its own, and with its ally in the NDA, the BJP led coalition to form the government in the centre with 353 seats in the Lok Sabha. This tally was even higher than what it had received during the 2014 general elections, in which the BJP had won 282 seats and the NDA had won 336 seats. The last 2.5 years of the present government have nevertheless been quite eventful, and the centre took quite a few major decisions, such as just a few months after coming back to the power, the government revoked the Article 370 and with it took away the special status that was provided to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The Article 370 used to grant the state of Jammu and Kashmir autonomy to have its own constitution. The revocation of Article 370 also nullified the applicability of Article 35A in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The Article 35A used to provide special privileges to the permanent residents of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, such as the exclusive privileges to buy real estate properties and to contest the election from there. This abrogation of Article 370 was supported by most major political parties in India. However, it was opposed by the political parties in the Kashmir Valley region. But at the same time, it was supported by the people in the Ladakh region. Removing the Article 370 was one of the key items in the agenda of BJP for years. Another key item that was on the BJP agenda was the construction of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. And in November 2019, the Supreme Court of India ruled in favor of construction of the Ram Mandir at Ayodhya, thus resolving this issue, which was at least decades long. Presently, the temple is being constructed in Ayodhya, and the ruling party has been fully supporting it. However, not very long after the Modi government winning its second term, the country was forced into the battle with the coronavirus pandemic, which kind of put the brakes on most policies that the government would have otherwise implemented. While there have been sections of the people who believe that the government could have done better in handling the pandemic, especially when the migrant labor got stuck at the different parts of the country, as well as the crisis situation that was faced by the country during the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. However, the fact remains that the India has handled pandemic relatively better compared to most of the countries in the world. Currently, the second wave of coronavirus pandemic seemed to have been brought well under control, and over 56% of the population has now received at least the first dose of the vaccine. Recently, the government has even reopened the country back for the foreign tourism. But despite the coronavirus pandemic, the government has been able to take several key decisions and has been able to implement several important policies. I've already mentioned schemes such as the National Infrastructure Pipeline and production-linked incentives, and also decisions such as setting up of the textile parks and selling of Air India in my previous video. Furthermore, the government has also allowed 100% FDI in the telecom sector. All such decisions on the economic front indicate the government's willingness to take the Indian economy to the next level. But it is not as if all the decisions that have been taken by the government over the last 2.5 years have been popular. The government had to face major protests in several parts of the country when it passed the CAA and the NRC bill in the parliament. This even led to riots at some places. Similarly, major protests have been ongoing against the 3 farm bills that have been introduced by the government for over a year now. And only a few days back, in a major setback, the government made the announcement that it will be backtracking on these laws. Although it has to be mentioned over here that there are sections of the people that have supported the farm laws as well as the CAA and the NRC bill. While the last 2.5 years have been quite eventful, the public's perception of the present government seemed to have been largely positive, probably except during the second wave of the coronavirus. The weekly poll by the Morning Consult, which is a data intelligence firm based out of the United States, show that the Indian Prime Minister has been consistently topping the global approval ratings amongst all the major global leaders. Similar surveys conducted by the Indian agencies such as the Aaj Tak's Mood of the Nation survey in August 2021 indicated that if the elections were to be held then, the NDA will still be getting around 298 seats, which is above the majority mark. Although in the same survey, it was shown that the rating for Mr. Narendra Modi as the best choice for the PM has gone down from 66% last year to 24% this year. This most probably was the result of the discontentment that is among the people because of the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. However, apart from the surveys, the performance of the present government in the actual state legislative assembly elections can be called mixed at the best. Since the 2019 general election, the BJP has won about 4 state assembly elections, including retaining power in states like Bihar, Haryana, and Assam. But it lost 6 state elections, in which in 2 states, which were Maharashtra and Jharkhand, the BJP ceded power, whereas in the other 4 states, which include the states of West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and Delhi, the BJP did not have government to begin with. Moreover, there are several key elections that are lined up for the BJP in the year of 2022 and 2023. This includes elections in the state of Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan. These elections are likely to set the tone for the General Assembly elections for the Lok Sabha in 2024. Although it needs to be mentioned that the elections are usually fought on the local issues by the regional leadership, and the impact of the state elections on the results of the national elections is generally remote. To conclude, looking at all these factors in totality, it can be said that a lot of people seem to have liked the performance of the government for the most part. And given that the impression of the present dispensation amongst the public has been relatively positive, and also assuming that any more fiascos such as the repealing of the Farm Bill do not happen in the future, at this point it can be said that the prospects of the current government under the leadership of incumbent Prime Minister to do well in the general elections of the year 2024 will still be called bright.